Why financial freedom starts with fewer choices. Most people believe financial freedom comes from more choices, more income streams, more investment options, more side hustles, more flexibility, more freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For most people, more choices don't create freedom, they create noise, anxiety, and paralysis. You scroll through financial advice and see endless options. Stocks, crypto, real estate, businesses, freelancing, passive income, online courses, career pivots. Everyone seems to be doing something different and winning at it. Meanwhile, you feel stuck trying to decide what the right move is. And that's the trap. Financial freedom doesn't begin with unlimited options. It begins with fewer, clearer choices, chosen deliberately. Today we're talking about why financial freedom often starts by cutting options, not adding them, and how that shift changes everything about money, work, and long-term stability. This topic matters because many people today aren't financially stuck due to lack of opportunity, but because they're overwhelmed by too many directions at once. Across the US and the UK, it's common to see working adults who are busy all the time, earning reasonable incomes, and still feeling uncertain about their financial future. They have jobs that pay the bills. Some are building side hustles. Others are trying to invest, upskill, or plan for long-term security. On the surface, it looks productive. In reality, it feels scattered. Money goes in multiple directions. Attention is divided. Progress feels shallow instead of solid. Savings exist, but don't feel reassuring. Investments are started, then questioned. Career moves are considered, then postponed. Every option competes for limited time, energy, and focus. The result isn't freedom, it's mental noise. The core problem isn't lack of discipline or ambition. It's decision overload. When everything feels possible, nothing feels certain. People constantly second-guess themselves. They switch strategies too often. They start paths without staying long enough for results to compound. This creates a subtle but damaging cycle. Because progress is fragmented, results come slowly. Because results are slow, confidence drops. And because confidence drops, people keep more options open, just in case. That openness feels safe, but it prevents momentum. Financial freedom begins to feel distant, not because the goal is unrealistic, but because the path is crowded. Too many choices dilute effort. Too many plans compete for attention. Without focus, even good decisions lose their power. Until this problem is recognized, people keep searching for more options, when what they actually need is fewer, clearer ones. The reason so many people struggle with financial focus isn't personal failure, it's the environment they're operating in. Modern money culture constantly pushes the idea that more options equal more freedom. Every platform, every article, every success story reinforces the same message. There are endless ways to get ahead. And you should probably be doing more than one of them. One major root cause is information overload. Never before have people had access to so much financial advice, investing strategies, career hacks, side businesses, passive income ideas, each one presented as both achievable and urgent. The problem isn't that these options are bad. The problem is that trying to evaluate all of them at once creates paralysis instead of progress. Another cause is the fear of committing too early. Many people worry that choosing one direction means closing the door on others. They want to stay flexible, so they keep options open. But in practice, this leads to shallow effort everywhere and mastery nowhere. Compounding requires commitment. Optionality delays it. There's also a cultural misunderstanding of freedom. Freedom is often portrayed as unlimited choice, doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But unlimited choice without structure creates stress. Every decision carries emotional weight. Every outcome feels like a reflection of your intelligence or discipline. Over time, this constant evaluation becomes exhausting. Finally, comparison quietly fuels the problem. Seeing others succeed through different paths creates the illusion that you're missing out unless you diversify constantly. What's rarely visible is the focus behind those outcomes. Most success stories are the result of narrowing choices, not expanding them. These forces combine to keep people busy, informed, and anxious, yet stuck. Without realizing it, They sacrifice depth for breadth. And that's why progress feels slower than it should. Once you recognize that too many choices are slowing you down, the next step isn't to find the perfect option. It's to deliberately reduce the number of decisions competing for your time and energy. Financial freedom doesn't start with complexity. It starts with focus. The practical shift is moving from exploration to commitment. Exploration is useful at the beginning. It helps you understand what's possible. But staying in exploration mode for too long creates stagnation. At some point, progress requires choosing a direction and accepting that other options will be left behind, at least for now. This applies directly to money. Instead of spreading effort thin across multiple strategies, choose a small number of core priorities. One primary career path to deepen. One simple investment approach to stay consistent with. One clear savings structure to protect stability. These choices don't need to be optimal. They need to be sustainable. The same principle applies to skills. Rather than constantly chasing new abilities, focus on a few that compound over time. Skills that increase leverage, like communication, analytical thinking, leadership, or problem solving, pay off precisely because they're built through repetition. Not novelty. Fewer skills, developed deeply, outperform many skills developed superficially. Emotionally, this shift can feel uncomfortable. Saying no creates doubt. It can feel like you're limiting yourself. But what actually happens is the opposite. With fewer choices, decisions become lighter, progress becomes visible, momentum builds, confidence grows from execution, not endless evaluation. This isn't about locking yourself into a path forever. It's about giving your current path enough time and focus to work. Financial freedom doesn't come from keeping every door open. It comes from walking through one door long enough to reach the other side. Over the long term, the difference between chasing many options and committing to a few becomes dramatic. At first, narrowing your choices doesn't look impressive. In fact, it can feel like you're doing less than everyone else, while others appear busy trying new strategies, new investments, or new income ideas. You're repeating the same actions over and over. From the outside, it can look slow. From the inside, it can feel boring. But this is where the real advantage begins. When you commit to fewer choices, something important happens. Compounding finally has room to work. Your savings grow consistently because you're no longer stopping and restarting. Your investments benefit from time instead of being constantly adjusted. Your career skills deepen instead of being reset with every new direction. Progress stops being fragile and starts becoming durable. This long-term consistency changes how you experience money. Financial stress decreases, not necessarily because income explodes, but because your system becomes predictable. You know where your money goes. You know why you're investing the way you are. You know which skills you're building and why they matter. That clarity reduces anxiety and decision fatigue. If you don't make this shift, the long-term consequences are subtle but costly. You stay busy, but progress remains shallow. Every few years, you feel the urge to start over with a new plan. Each reset delays momentum. Time passes, effort is spent, but the foundation never feels solid. By contrast, people who accept fewer choices gain something far more valuable than speed, optionality later. Because they built strength early, they earn flexibility over time. They can adapt when circumstances change. They can slow down without fear. They can take advantage of opportunities because their base is stable. Financial freedom doesn't arrive as chaos or unlimited possibility. It arrives as calm, as confidence, as the ability to choose deliberately instead of react impulsively. And that state is almost always built through years of focused, repeated decisions, not through constantly keeping every option open. In the long run, fewer choices don't restrict your life. They expand it, quietly, steadily, and in ways that only become obvious once the hard part is already done. When you look back at most stories of real financial freedom, a clear pattern emerges. Very few of them begin with unlimited choice. They begin with constraint, with saying no, with committing to fewer paths and staying on them longer than feels comfortable. This is the part that often gets misunderstood. Fewer choices don't mean fewer opportunities. They mean fewer distractions. They create space for progress to deepen instead of constantly restarting. They allow effort to stack instead of scatter. Over time, that depth becomes strength. Most people don't struggle because they chose the wrong path. They struggle because they never stayed on one long enough for it to compound. They keep searching for the better option, the faster route, the safer move. In doing so, they delay the only thing that actually creates freedom: sustained momentum. Financial freedom isn't built through perfect decisions. It's built through repeated, imperfect decisions made consistently. Saving when it feels boring. Investing when results feel small. Building skills when no one is watching. These actions don't feel empowering in the moment. They feel restrictive, limiting, sometimes even disappointing. But over time, something shifts. The noise fades. Confidence grows. Choices become clearer instead of heavier. You stop reacting to every new idea or trend because you're grounded in a system that works for you. That's when freedom starts to feel real, not because everything is open, but because you're no longer pulled in every direction. This doesn't mean locking yourself into one path forever. Life changes, markets change, you will change, but the ability to adapt later is earned through focus now. Optionality in the future is built by discipline in the present. So here's the question worth reflecting on. Where in your financial life are you holding on to too many options? And what might change if you deliberately chose fewer paths and gave them the time and focus they need to work? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you feel more constrained by too many choices, or afraid of letting some go? And what would fewer, clearer choices look like for you right now?